right, so here we go. Number one, this is day 3. Yesterday was an e-learning day. The video is online. You need to go, you need to learn it and do it. So remember, you do not have to do what I'm about to do because we learned to do this before, changing from standard form to the slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. And you should pretty much know that. There is a 1, so it's a negative 1 in front of the y. So we need to get rid of the 8x as a unit. And we need to get rid of the negative 1, so we would, since this is plus 8x, we're going to subtract 8x from both sides of the equation. Why do we get rid of it, move it to the other side? Because the x is on the right-hand side of that in order to graph it. So it's going to be negative 1y is greater than or equal to, we cannot add these two together. That's an x, that's not an x. We did a lot of these earlier in the year. You have to get rid of the negative 1, so since it's being multiplied to the y, we're going to divide it. The negative 1's are gone. We're left with y. By the way, here's the one time this is going to happen. If we divide by a negative number, we have to flip this sign. So that's just something we did. You know it. Negative and a negative is positive, so it's 8 over 1x. And negative 4 divided by negative 1 is negative 4. So this is where all of yours are going to be right here. You're not going to have to do this to them. Please don't start solving problems that are already in slope-intercept form. You do not need to do the solving part. We did 5-6 days of that. All right, so this is where we're at. This is just a reminder. All right, so we're going to go to negative 4. That is our y-intercept. That's what the B stands for, the y-intercept. That's where we're going to put our first dot on the y-axis. Since it's the y, it's being solved for y, that is the y-intercept. Does everybody see that? If that number's a y out there, that's where we put our first dot. If it's an x out there, that's where we put our x, our first dot. But we'll see one of those here shortly. That's usually the ones that don't have a y. So I go to negative 4. That's negative 4. That's where I put my first dot. From there, we're going to do 2 dots using slope. Slope, also known as the rise over the run. And on our first one, we're going to go right. R, like you're laughing. It's a pirate's favorite thing to do. Rise over run right, because it's R. All right? So, rise. That means the top number. We're going to do what it says. And since this is a positive 8, how many spaces would we rise? 8 spaces. Oh my God, so hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Don't go to 8. You go up 8 spaces. And since it's the first one is run right, that's left or right, we're going right on the first one. 1 space. That's it. Why 1 space? Because that's what it says right underneath there. We rise 8 and run right. Now, if this were negative 8, we would go down 8, and then we would also run right. Well, now we're going to do this in reverse, and I don't think we can put this one in. So we go down 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's over there. And we would go left 1. It's not there. We're not going to put it. We can't. We don't have enough space on this. So we're just going to connect the 2 dots. Put your ruler. Now, we need to look at this. Does this have a line? Do we make a line or we make a dash? Yes, there's a line underneath there. Do you see that, Eric? Look at, do you see the line underneath? That means we put a line. If there was no line, we would do a dashed line. We don't have one. Now, we have to determine whether we are going to shade on this side of the line or this side of the line. If we look at this and we look at the less than symbol and we put little dots on it, there is 1 dot here and there are 2 dots here. What side is next to the y? The less or the greater? The less. So we look at, here's 10, down here is negative 10. You watching, Eric? This is 10, this is negative 10. Negative 10 is less because this is less. Therefore, we're going to shade on this side of that line. All right? That means all the answers over here are correct. All the answers over here are not correct. They won't make this a true statement. All right, now, we don't have to do all the math. We're just going. There's the y-intercept. We go to 5, we put a dot. From that dot, we do the slope. Does everybody see the negative up here? See the negative? That goes with the 4. So that means we're going to go down 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. And we're always going to run to the right on the first one. So 1, 2, 3. It's up and right or down and right, depending on if that's a positive or a negative on the top. Everybody see that? -4. And then we run right 3. Now we just do all that in reverse. Since we went down 4 and right 3, we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're going to go left 1, 2, 3. We just did it completely opposite. And you're going to notice it's side to side. Does everybody see that? Now, we have to look at the sign. Is it a line or is it dashed? Why is it dashed? Because there's no line. Unlike this one, there's a line. Does everybody see the line? We put a line. Since this one does not have a line, we can't use the answers on that area, so we need to make it dashed. Why? Because coordinate points on that, in that area, on there, do not work. They will not solve this inequality, okay? What's facing the y? Eric, the less or the greater? Okay, Eric, look, if I put a dot on each side, this side has 2 dots. This side has 1 dot. See that? 1, 2. You see it? 2, 1. What's less? 1 or 2? 1 is. So what's facing the y? The less is facing it. So here's 10. Here's -10. What's less? -10. So I want a shade on the side that is covering the -10. Here's a great example. Here's 0, 0. Does everybody see 0, 0 right there? That means x is 0 and y is 0. And if I put a 0 in for y, I put a 0 in for x, that makes this whole thing gone. I have +5. So is 0 less than 5? Is 0 less than 5? Yes, so it's true. That's why these are true. If I picked a point outside here or on this line, this would not be true. Here's one. What do we got here? We've got is that 3, 3, 1? Make that 3. They cancel. -4 plus 5 is 1. Is 1 less than 1? No. So that spot right there is not going to work, the one that's on the line, okay? All right, now the easy ones. You don't have a whole lot of these, but they're there. This is the only time you're going to put your dot on the x-axis to begin with. Does everybody see that it clearly says x is greater than or equal to -2? Well, it's an x out there, so we need to put that -2 on the x. Now, this is what I do. There is no y, correct? Does everybody see that inequality? There's not a y there. That means that you cannot, your ruler or straight edge cannot cross the y-axis. Therefore, the only way that that can happen is if I run it up and down. It cannot cross. Your line cannot cross that y-axis. The only time that happens is, whoops, yeah, it is a line. And we're drawing a solid line because there is a line. You see the line? Line, put a line. No line, dot it, dash it. Might be kind of hard to see there, but there it is. What's facing the x, the greater or the less? Greater. So now, but it's x greater, so here's -10, here's 10, well 10 is the greater, so I'm going to shade on the greater side. Okay? And there's 0, 0. If I put 0 in for x, is 0 greater than or equal to -2? Sure is. All right, the next one. Y is less than 3, so it's y. We know that we need to go on the y-axis and put a 3. Is there an x in this inequality? Is there an x in there? No x, right? So that means I cannot, my ruler cannot cross that x-axis, which my pen is covering. So my ruler has, the only way my ruler can go is this way. I can't do this. It's crossing the pen. The only way to do it is this way. Is there a, is it dashed or dotted, by the way? Dashed. Hyphenated, right? All right, greater or less? Less. Negative 10 is the less. So I'm going to cover up that negative 10 because I want less. It says less, I want less. All right, have at it. If you got any questions, let me know. Your answer sheet only has the odds because I want to know if you know. So if you have any questions, let me know. Bye.